Eyes have been on the war in Iran for the last couple of weeks, and rightfully so. This conflict has upended the global economy. It's resulted in skyrocketing gas prices here in the United States and will assuredly impact other affordability issues like the cost of food, the cost of housing, and more. But as this continues to drag on and we continue to see additional uncertainty around when or how this war will wrap up, there's another issue that was at the forefront for months before this war started, the Epstein Files. There have been some big developments that not a lot of people are talking about, and so I wanted to spend some time unpacking a few of the things that you may not have heard about. If you enjoy what you're hearing, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and continue to follow along for more discussion about what's happening in the world around us today. One of the biggest developments I'm tracking is the deposition of Tova Noel, and if that name is unfamiliar to you, well, you better get to know it, because she was one of the guards that was on duty the night that Jeffrey Epstein died in his cell. Now, obviously, a lot of people are already skeptical about the official government story that this was some kind of suicide, because there are so many loose ends that people just yet don't understand. And the Justice Department has declined to investigate fully up until recently. But the pressure that has been mounting around the Epstein Files, the public release of millions of documents, means that there is increased scrutiny on exactly what happened that night. Tova Noel attested to the fact that she was checking on Jeffrey Epstein every 15 to 30 minutes in his cell, as was customary for prisoners that had been placed under suicide watch, as Epstein had a couple weeks prior to his death. But those records were falsified. She actually was not checking up on him, and according to FBI documents, the last time he had actually been visited in his cell was around 10 o'clock p.m. the night before, roughly 8 hours before his death. There's also some questions around some payments that Tova Noel received. One of the most intriguing aspects of this investigation that the House Oversight Committee will assuredly be digging into are the financial deposits that Tova Noel received in the lead up to Jeffrey Epstein's death. She received several large cash and Zelle deposits of unknown sources, and even was paid the largest amount of $5,000 just days before he died. The Justice Department has never fully investigated these, and nobody really knows why she received these payments. This prison guard was actually paying for a Range Rover that she had recently purchased right before his death as well, increasing the scrutiny on how exactly she was affording that and where exactly that money was coming from. Of additional note is her browsing history from that night. When she was initially investigated for falsifying these records, it was verified that she was searching for things like furniture and other innocuous stuff for most of the night. But right before Jeffrey Epstein was allegedly found dead for the first time in his cell, she started searching terms like Jeffrey Epstein update, trying to see if anything had broken in the news about Jeffrey Epstein, even though he sat in a cell just 15 feet away from where she was searching. It's almost like she was expecting some kind of breaking news about this man that she could have just gone around the corner and looked at. So there's some really intriguing questions that the Oversight Committee wants to dig into, and they are seeking her deposition by March 24th, 2026. You also have a couple developments around Attorney General Pam Bondi and her handling of the Epstein Files. The first is a report that she's been moved to military housing because she's afraid for her life. And in the aftermath of that congressional hearing that she had a couple weeks ago, in which she called everyone fake lawyers and said you should be paying attention to the Dow being over 50,000, not a pedophile ring, that brought understandable scrutiny and fervor around the way she has approached all of this. So as she continues to cover up for Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, she also sits in military housing, afraid for her own safety. At the same time, she's facing articles of impeachment that were filed by Democratic Representative Sri Tanadar. Earlier this week, they were officially filed because people are tired of her and her obstruction in this case. Now, it's unclear where the articles of impeachment are ultimately going to go, if they have enough votes to even charge her in the House, but almost assuredly they're not going to convict her in the Senate, because impeachment has turned from a viable mechanism for holding Democratic representatives accountable to simply political circus. And to set the stage for the final thing I'm tracking on the Epstein Files this week, watch this clip of Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
I listened to you on the...
The president wants you. Sorry, the president wants you very much.
Oh, okay. Okay. No problem at all. See you shortly, Mr. Secretary.
You can work that in.
Mr. Secretary, I have to say, it's a first, I'm sure a last as well, that an interviewee's been pulled away to go to the Situation Room. How was the president? Was he Was he stressed?
No, the president is in great spirits. The Iranian mission is proceeding well ahead of schedule. And I have to tell you, Wilf, that I'm a teenager who's considering military service, and I could give this team my highest compliment, from President Trump to the head of the Joint Chiefs to the Secretary of War. I would say that I would trust my child's life in their hands.
Bessent got pulled into the Situation Room for an urgent discussion with the President of the United States, and when he came back nearly 2 hours later, he appeared to be shook. I don't know how else to put it. This guy was terrified of something. Now, some have suggested that it might be related to the war in Iran and a potential draft unfolding because his son is considering military service, as he admitted in this video. But that doesn't seem to be the most urgent, pressing concern if his son isn't even in the military yet. Now, don't forget Scott Bessent's involvement with the Epstein Files as well, which is that he has been actively obstructing the investigation by Ron Wyden and the Senate Finance Committee into Jeffrey Epstein's finances. Wyden has multiple times, via letters and otherwise, demanded that Bessent release specific financial records that would help unpack and uncover how deep the Epstein ring runs by tracking the money wherever it goes. But Bessent has said multiple times, I will not be releasing those records. And the reason the timing of this is suspicious is because multiple articles, investigative journalism done by Eliza Orlins and others, have unpacked exactly how deep Scott Bessent's ties to this are, and that he may be not just covering for the president, but himself as well. So while all the media focus continues to be on this war in Iran and its implications for affordability, American and global lives, I will also continue to focus on some of those stories that the media is not paying as much attention to, especially the Epstein trafficking ring and Donald Trump's involvement in that. So whether it involves Tova Noel, Pam Bondi, Scott Bessent, or any of the other actors involved in this whole sordid affair, I will continue to provide updates as I have them and keep eyes on everything that is unfolding in this corrupt regime.